Started.
Thank you. So, good night to everyone. I am the chair of Transportation and Public Safety. We are going to start the meeting, first meeting of the 2023-2024 um, season. And I would like for those that are here calling the meeting to order, let me again, and I would like to thank all the new faces. I'm seeing some new folks. Um, I am hoping that we have a good year this year in terms of looking out for the benefit of our community and looking out for ourselves. On the agenda tonight,
It's here right now.
we have
Okay, so
You got it?
on the agenda tonight we have the Taxi and Limousine Commission with a presentation, as well as the street co-naming for Troy Avenue. There will also be a presentation for that. And at this time, I was told that the roll call, because we merged these two committees together, we're supposed to have 18 members of public safety, 23 members of transportation. So in total, that's supposed to be 41 people. I see folks coming in. I see Detective Skinner is here. I see people are coming in, so that's good. So we will go forward. The minutes we will have to postpone for next month. We currently don't have those minutes. I have to review, so I will bring them next month. What I will do now is just give the chairman's report. Basically, over the summer, there was a meeting in August where we met with the DOT commissioner, as well as the deputy commissioner and several of his key heads. This is in regards to the car share. Those were stopped in terms of the excessive amount of bike shares, in particular in specific areas around the cemetery, from, let's say, Schenectady and Snyder, and Brooklyn and Snyder, all the way down to Cortelyou and Albany, Cortelyou and Schenectady. There was a lot of excessive, so they have stopped that. They have also, and they have removed, I think, one or two. So that was a plus that we got them to come down. That was in part and due in fact to Rodney's Bachat, who is assemblywoman, as well as also our city council woman Farah Lewis. They were very key in helping us have that meeting, and we want to give them kudos where they need their where kudos should be given. Also, I was a part of the 67th precinct council community council meeting, which was last week Thursday, right after the general meeting. And we found out that during this Labor Day weekend that just passed, there were no shootings and there were no stabbings, no deaths. And that is a big plus, and it's a big push for the Labor Day weekend events, which normally start from Thursday all the way to Tuesday. So we have to give credit in terms where that is due also, that it was quiet. They did find and they did arrest 4 people with weapons, and that was shown, that was advertised in terms of the type of weapons and the caliber of weapons and bullets, the amount of bullets. But overall, there were no deaths during this Labor Day weekend. So we have to also give, the NYPD, as well as the auxiliary officers and traffic officers, everybody that, and also the 67th clergy council, precinct clergy council, they were out in force. So all of these and the neighbors together made this Labor Day weekend a very successful one without any violence or bloodshed. So that in particularly ends my report. Again, well, not ends, but as was stated before, the two committees have been merged together, and we're just going to coordinate and work together to make this new merged committee very effective in the community. All right, so any questions arising from the chairperson's report? If not, we are going to give the floor over to our first presenter from TLC. I believe I see Dylan Cepeda here. I think, right. So Dylan is from TLC, and they have a slideshow prepared. Hold on. Before we do that, I see the chairman's hand raised. Mr. Roderick Daly.
All right, so good evening, everyone, and welcome back. Thank you, Chair Lewis, for agreeing to chair our newly formed Transportation and Public Safety. I'm very excited to see what's going to happen this year, as there are a number of issues. Sorry, let me turn on my camera. Sorry. Right. So again, just to ensure that we know that this community is very vital, where we get the police report, we get the situations that are happening within our community. And I am asking all committee members to ensure that we address issues of safety and transportation. I'm sure in his report, our chairman Lewis spoke about our meeting with DOT and the cease and desist. And, these are things that we're working on, the bike share, bike lane, car share, and all those other things that are affecting our community. So I just want to take the opportunity to say, I am looking forward to a movement, right? A movement from this committee, a movement in where CB17 is hidden beyond a high mark, right? And I think, and I know, not I think, I know that our chairman Lewis has all intentions of doing that and bringing it to the next level. But your voices are the voices that's going to allow us to be able to do that. And also just to invite you to make sure that everybody knows that we have combined a few committees, so make it less for you to come out during the month. So making it less, we hope to see you more, right? If that makes sense, right? And also the third Wednesday of every month is our general board meeting, where you can hear from the liquor license, hear from the other committees, hear as well what's happening inside of the community and what your assistance would look like. So Chair Lewis will give you a lot of those information, but you could also check out.
Chair Daly, did we lose you?
Cut off. Go back.
Okay.
Sorry. I'm sorry. Did I get?
Yeah,
sorry,
you did
did I
get
got cut off?
Yes, you did.
I'm sorry. I just want to I don't know which part I got, but just remind people that we have merged the many committees, and also that everyone should be invited out every third Wednesday of the month to come to the general board to hear what the other committees have to offer and what is also happening within your community, especially when we look at rezoning, land use, youth and education, among our commerce and among others, and what we're doing at Community Board 17. So looking forward, and our chairman of the committee, Mr. Ozen Lewis, said, you know, I'm looking forward to working with him and making sure that we're getting things done. So that's that.
All right, we want to thank the chair for that encouragement. And I know I have a lot of large shoes to fulfill. I know my name is going to be called every which way, but I'm big and strong enough to handle. So I appreciate everything that is coming forward in the next couple of months, and hopefully we could get things done in the community. So without any further ado, if there's no other questions about the chairman's report, I will have Dylan Cepeda from TLC do the presentation. It's on passenger safety and passenger awareness. A lot of us use Uber, Lyft, etc. And we also do at times take folks that are not certified licensed because it's easier or it's cheaper. So, you know, this presentation will show you how to make sure that you check properly and effectively and protect yourself and your loved ones. Go ahead, Dylan.
Thank you. Good evening, board members. Good evening, Chair. Thanks you again for letting us attend your meeting to present about our agency, the Taxi and Limousine Commission. So as the chair said, my name is Dylan. I'm the Deputy Director of the External Affairs Unit at TLC. And Louis Liang from our prosecution unit is also here. I think he's on the phone. Can you hear me, Louis?
Yes, I can, Dylan.
Right, great. So I'm going to try to share my screen so we can get the presentation. Can people see the presentation?
Not yet.
All right.
Not yet.
All right. What about now?
Yes, we can.
Great. All right. So we'll start off with simple. What is the Taxi Limousine Commission? What do we do? We're the New York City agency that regulates all taxis and for-hire vehicles. So that includes yellow cabs, green cabs, the livery cars, the black cars, limousines, commuter vans, paratransit vehicles, and this includes Lyft and Uber as well. We license and regulate the vehicles and the drivers. So we're going to start off the presentation just with a brief overview of the types of vehicles that we license and what they can and can't do. So all right. So first, it's the iconic yellow taxi. So many of you have seen these. They're the only vehicles licensed to pick up street hailing passengers anywhere in New York City. So they can pick you up anywhere, airport, Queens, Brooklyn, Staten Island, doesn't matter, they're allowed to do that. And they charge the metered fare. So when you get in, the meter should turn on. And right now, once it turns on, it'll start at $3, and there's a bunch of other fees that go on top of that. And you can check out our website, and the link is going to be at the end of the presentation, so you can check out how much it costs to go to the airports, how much it is at certain times of the day, rush hour. But in addition to hailing them in the street, which is the usual way people get them, you can also use an app. So we have these apps listed right here. This is our e-hail service. So you can actually request taxi on the app, it'll come to your location, similar to Uber and Lyft. And unique to this is that it also will offer you upfront pricing, also similar to Uber and Lyft. So you'll know how much you can request to know how much it'll go from your point A to point B, and you'll pay that price. And we always remind people to take their receipts, because if anything goes wrong during the ride, you forget something, there's a complaint against the driver, or there's something wrong with the vehicle, that receipt is going to have all the identifying information that we're going to need to track down that car. So next, we have the green taxi, also known as a street hail livery. So these taxis you'll only see above East 96th Street and West 110th Street in Manhattan, and also in Queens, Brooklyn, Staten Island, and the Bronx. They're not allowed to pick up anyone in the central business district, and they operate similar to the yellow taxis. You can hail them in the street. They're green. They have the T marking. Their license plates start with T, end in C usually, and will always have the T and LC at the bottom of that license plate, so you'll know it's a licensed vehicle. It's okay to get in. We do have a pilot program out now, so some of you may have seen some black cars with a green letter P on it. So that's part of a pilot program, and those vehicles are technically street hail liveries, but they act more like car service cars. They can only be dispatched. They can't hail. If you see a green P, they can't pick you up from the street. And so these green taxis, similar to the yellow cabs, they charge the metered fare when you hail them in the street, but also you can request them on one of the same apps that we listed before, and you can get upfront pricing with that as well. And then we have for hire vehicles. So these vehicles are usually painted black, and they include like your local car service cars, livery cabs, Uber, Lyft. These cannot pick up in the street at all. They can only be dispatched from the base or requested through a smartphone app. And they only offer upfront pricing. So when you request it from the base or when you get it on the app, they'll tell you the price right away. And similar to the green cabs, they'll have the plates that begin with T, end in C, and they'll have the T and LC at the bottom of the license plate. So a lot of the times our agency does hear about complaints that these vehicles are picking up passengers in the streets. So it's not a good idea to get in a cab or a for-hire vehicle that's operating illegally. One, there's going to be no record of the trip. So if anything were to go wrong or you lose something, there's no way anyone is going to be able to track down that trip. When they're operating illegally, also, that means that there's going to be no insurance coverage in case of an accident. So you really don't want to risk getting into illegally operating vehicles that are picking up in the street just for a few bucks. So we also regulate commuter vans and paratransit vans. So to recognize a licensed TLC commuter van, you're going to look for kind of this little graphic on the screen. It's going to say commuter. On the side, there's going to be a sticker a blue diamond that says it's licensed, and it's also going to have the TLC license plate. And commuter vans can only operate on set routes. There's only a few of them within the entire city. And similar paratransit vehicles operate for prearranged medical related trips, and trips are related dispatched through a base. So you don't want to get into any of these illegal commuter vans for the same reason. There's going to be insurance issues, and also there's going to be no record of the trip. And importantly, accessibility is always at the forefront of TLC policy. So if you need a wheelchair accessible vehicle, there's numerous ways you can request one. So one is through our accessible dispatch program. So that will send a yellow cab or a green cab to your location, and you can request it in multiple ways. So there's a mobile app, Accessible Dispatch NYC, that you can download on Android or iPhone. You can go online, you can click, there's a link here, you can go online and schedule a trip. You can call the Accessible Dispatch number, that's that 646 number right here. Or you can call 311 and ask for Accessible Dispatch, and they can patch you through. You could use any of the e-hail apps that we mentioned earlier in the presentation for the yellow and green cabs. You can use your Uber and Lyft app, or you can request one from your local base as well. So now we've gone through kind of the basics of the vehicles that are out there. I'm going to turn it over to Louis, and he's going to go over the rest of the presentation that involves some of the common complaints we get and your rights as a taxi passenger.
Hello, good evening, everybody. My name is Louis Liang, and I'm the supervising attorney for the Office of Inclusion in the Prosecutions Department of the TLC. Thank you so much for having us. It's a great pleasure making this presentation to everyone. I just want to turn to the next slide just to continue with this presentation with regards to the issue of lost property. If you happen to have lost your, if you happen to have lost your property, such as your purse or any other personal belongings in a yellow or green taxi, we urge you to call 311 or to visit 311 online and to file a complaint. If you lost an item in a for-hire vehicle, such as an Uber, a vehicle a vehicle that picked you up through the base Uber, contact the base. For example, you contact Uber or Lyft or the company directly. You want to provide as much information about the trip as possible, such as the time, the date, the pickup and drop-off location, the payment type. How did you pay? Did you pay with your credit card, debit card, or if you paid with cash? And also, you want to provide details about the driver and the vehicle as well. Turning to the next slide, you can also contact one of the designated lost property police precincts in each borough. So if it's in the Bronx, it would be the 43rd precinct. If it's in Manhattan, it would be the 17th precinct. If it's in Brooklyn, it's going to be the 76th precinct or the 94th precinct. Queens would be the 107th precinct or the 115th precinct. And in Staten Island, it would be the 120th precinct. Turning to the next slide, passengers have rights when taking each type of TLC licensed vehicle. And of course, you can view these rights on our agency's website. Before I continue, I'd like to introduce you all to what my office does. The Office of Inclusion. The Office of Inclusion was created in July 31st, 2018, when Mayor de Blasio and Speaker Johnson announced support for a Office of Inclusion within the TLC. And the mission of the Office of Inclusion is to reduce the number of service refusals and ensure that all passengers receive the service that they expect and to which that they are legally entitled. So some of the things that we do is to encourage service refusal complaints to be submitted to the TLC, and the common method to do that is if you feel that you've been discriminated in some way by a cab driver, or if you feel that that you have been disrespected, or you feel that that you were mistreated, you can always call 311 to file a complaint, or you can go online to the 311 website to file a complaint. We also, as the Office of Inclusion, also engages in an aggressive outreach to the TLC's regulated driver communities on New York City's zero tolerance for service refusals. We also engage in outreach to community groups whose members have experienced service refusals, and we stress the importance of reporting service refusals. So, continuing with the slide, as I've mentioned previously, is that passengers do have the rights, have rights when taking each type of a TLC licensed and vehicle, and you can certainly view those rights on our website. And these rights, they're not limited to, but these include, but they're not limited to, not to be refused service based on a protected class, be driven by a TLC licensed driver in good standing with his or her TLC driver's license on display. So, as an example, when you get into an Uber vehicle, the driver's hack license showing his photo, his or her photo, as well as their TLC license number should be displayed. Should be displayed in an area where you can clearly see them. Another example would be that a driver has to drive safely. He has to be courteous, and he has to obey all traffic laws. And when you get into a vehicle, you also are entitled to be in a smoke-free environment. You're entitled to be in an area where, in a vehicle, where there is no bad odor or scent or any kind of scent that would make you feel uncomfortable. And also another example would be that when you're in a vehicle, you are entitled to have working seatbelts, that those seatbelts are not broken or they're not damaged, because seatbelts are very important. You have to wear them. It's by law. It's mandated by law that you have to wear seatbelts to ensure, you know, your safety and the safety of those who are traveling with you. Service refusals, I've mentioned this before, is that it is illegal for a driver to refuse to pick you up or take you to your destination based on your destination, race, disability, sexual orientation, gender identity, age, immigration status, national origin, religion or creed, color, marital and partnership status, and or pregnancy. So just to illustrate an example, if you are someone of a particular race, and you are walking down the street and you hailed a cab, and if you see that a cab is coming towards you and the driver made eye contact with you, and the driver drove away, perhaps you may think that the driver decided not to pick you up because of your race, or because perhaps you were pregnant at the time, or because of the type of clothing that you were wearing. For whatever reason, you can always call 311 to report a complaint, or if you can go online and write down the details of what happened that night or at that particular time. So when it comes to following these complaints, it's very important that you write down, the details of the incident, as detailed as you can, so that the TLC can conduct a thorough investigation into what happened. So you can call 311, or you can call 212-639-9675 from outside of New York City, or you can visit 311, or you can download and use the NYC 311 app on your Apple or your Android phone. A driver can refuse to pick up a passenger in limited situations, such as the driver is about to end their shift. Now, of course, a driver could pull up and say that, well, my shift is going to end I can't pick you up anymore. You know, I can't pick you up, so I'll have to go. And then you see the driver drive down one block and pick someone else up. So it's more than likely that that driver is lying. And what you can do is that you can file a complaint.
It's real big question. If they're going to ask exactly what's in the bio,
Hi, excuse me. Can you please mute? Thank you.
So I just want to talk a little bit about. I just want to talk a little about how the complaint process, how it's done at the TLC. So as I've mentioned before, is that you know, you are someone who's trying to hail a cab, or you're a passenger, or you're a pedestrian. You file the complaint with 311. Now, the 311 complaints are imported into the TLC system, and all refusals and any allegations concerning race or protected class, for example, gender, you know, gender identity, sexual orientation, for example, are identified as OI cases or Office of Inclusion cases. And then what happens is that we have folks called the TLC case examiners. They will go through our database to identify the TLC licensee who was operating the vehicle at the time, the location of the vehicle, and the date or time of incident. And that's very important because we would have data that would show us where the vehicle was at the time. And if our trip sheets or if our data is showing that that vehicle, for example, was at this particular intersection at 3:45 p.m., and your 311 complaint is alleging the same, you know, location, the same intersection at 3:43, 3:42 p.m., that would be very important evidence. That would actually be very helpful evidence. And then what's going to happen is that we would gather our data, we would gather the evidence that we have on our you know, that we have available, and then we would call the complaining witness, which is you. So if you're the one who filed a complaint because you feel that you were disrespected, you feel that you were discriminated against for whatever reason, we reach out to you, and I've done this a lot as a TLC attorney. I would call the complaining witness to confirm and clarify the incident details. We would request additional information, and we would explain the complaint process to the complaining witness, which would be you. And then, so let me just illustrate an example. So if, let's say, for example, you were in a vehicle, you were on a trip, and you were in an argument, in some kind of an argument with the driver, or the driver made some rude comments about the way you look, or the way you dress, or anything that you feel that you were, you know, you feel uncomfortable as a passenger. We would talk with you about that. We would ask you, well, what exactly did the driver say to you? As to the best of your ability, could you recollect what happened? Do you have any recordings, any kind of photo evidence or video evidence? It's always a good idea when you step into a vehicle to have your phone with you, to, you know, just to make sure that if anything unusual happens, you can take pictures, or you can take videos of what happened, or you can make recordings of what happened. And then after we speak to the complaining witness, after we confirm all the details and make sure that and ensure that this complaint is valid, that the complaining witness didn't just make things up, we would then draft the accusatory instrument and detail the TLC rule violation. So based on what you tell us, we will determine what rule the licensee or the driver has violated. So if, let's say, there was an incident where the driver said, if you don't pay me in cash, I will punch you in the face. That would consider to be a threat. And of course, that would be a TLC rule violation. We have a rule that says that they are not allowed to threaten you or to abuse you or to cause you harm. Or if, let's say, for example, a TLC officer, you had some kind of an argument with the TLC, the TLC licensee for the driver, and the drivers made a derogatory remark or racist remark or said the F word. Those would also consider to be rule violations. So whenever you have an experience like that, you want to make sure that you are able to record them, or after that incident, immediately after the incident, you would record it, you would write it down, you would type it into your phone, just to help you as a source of reminder, so that when we're talking with you, you could look it up and just kind of remind yourself, oh, okay, so this is what happened. Yes, he did call me that, or he did call me this. And then what happens is that that summons, a TLC summons would be issued to the driver, to the licensee, and what's going to happen is that the summons will have the date of the hearing, the administrative hearing, and when we, the TLC prosecuting attorneys, talk to you, the complaining witnesses, the first thing we would ask to let you know is if it goes to a hearing, in front of an administrative law judge, would you be able to attend the hearing? If you say yes, that would be very helpful, because if it does actually go to a hearing, then we would have a chance to bring this licensee to justice for the misbehavior that he has engaged in. So that's very important. So at the hearing, the TLC prosecutor, that's us, we will present our case in front of the administrative law judge, and the licensee or the driver can appear in person, and he can also have his attorney or a licensed representative argue on his behalf, or the driver can make his own arguments, and then the judge will determine whether the licensee, is guilty or not of the various TLC violations. So that is just a brief summary of how the complaint process goes, and how it works, how it operates. Just going back to the slides with regards to duplicate receipts, is that if you need a duplicate receipt for a yellow or green taxi ride, you can also email foil@tlc.nyc.gov, or you can fax us at 212-676-1102 and include the following information: medallion license number or the driver's license number, date and time of the ride, pickup and drop-off locations of the ride. I think that is the end of our presentation. Does anybody have any questions?
All right. Okay, so I don't think I see any questions, but our email address for the External Affairs Office is here. I'll also put it in the chat, and I'll also put my email in the chat as well in case I think there's one question, but in case anyone wants to talk. So let me see. Adele?
Oh, yes, good evening. Adele
Good
Bennett,
evening.
committee member. I have a question in regards to the process, as you stated, for the hearings. I went to a TLC hearing several years ago in regards to an issue that took place with one of your drivers. He drove me down a wrong way on the street in Manhattan. It scared the life out of me. Even though and there were witnesses, I don't think they were called. But the problem was he did this. I came to the hearing, and he got off. He came with an attorney, and I guess they decided I wasn't credible, which was not true. I was just as credible as he was. But he did drive down the wrong way on a one-way street. What should be the penalty for that?
All right. Yeah, so I don't think we'll be able to share the specifics of your case, but I think Louis, do you know for violating traffic laws what the summons is?
Yes, I was having a little trouble hearing what was
So I
said.
think it was
Was it right?
she said that he drove down the wrong way on a one-way street and it went all the way to hearing, but I guess the judge found
Right.
in his favor. But so she wants to know what the penalty was.
Right. So so it would be a monetary penalty. I believe that at a hearing, I believe that the lady has mentioned that I'm so sorry, I didn't get your name. You mentioned that that there was Adele, right? That there was an issue of credibility. Is that right? Is that the judge found the administrative law judge found that the administrative law judge found that the driver was more credible and that you were not credible. Is that correct?
That's the only thing I can. They really never said why, but that's the only thing I could think of. And I also work for the city, for the NYPD, so I was not lying.
Right. So So at these hearings, the judge or the hearing officer at the Office of Administrative Trials and Hearings, they do have the power to make findings regarding credibility. So they would. I believe that when you attended the hearings, were you there in person?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. Because during COVID, everything was done, over the phone. It was done virtually. It's still done virtually now, unless if you want to, attend the hearing physically at the oath office. So so the judge would evaluate what you said, what the licensee said, and whatever evidence that you have presented and the evidence that the licensee has presented. So let's say, for example, is that if you may have, video recordings or voice recordings, or you have pictures or anything like that, the judge would take all of that into consideration in making that determination about whether the driver was guilty or not. But certainly, I don't. At this time, I don't have the information. I can look it up for you, and I can follow up with you about that, about specifically the monetary penalty. But it would be
6 years ago.
Go ahead.
Yeah,
okay.
It was about 6 years ago, and ever since then, I'm reluctant to use tabs.
And that's why, previously I mentioned that, it's very important that when you get into a cab, it's always important to have your phone with you, so that if, when we think about, hailing a cab or, requesting for an Uber ride, we just want to get to our destination. We're not really thinking about any, other things like, oh, is this driver going to disrespect me? Is this driver going to mistreat me while I'm in the ride, or is he going to take the wrong route, along the route, to my home or to my destination? But it's very important that, we always have to keep it in the back of our heads that, hey, listen, some, certain bad things could happen. We just want to protect ourselves. So it's always very important to, I would suggest that, you would have your phone with you to take pictures or videos or make recordings, because those are actually very important when you file the complaint. I've called complaining, I've called complaining witnesses before, and their claims are, in my opinion, valid. Because I've asked them questions about the date, the time of the incident, what, to the best of, I asked them, about details of what happened, and everything seems okay. Everything, everything that the complaining witness told me was pretty solid. But that complaining witness didn't have any other type of, any other evidence to submit to me, which is fine. We were still able to, issue a summons to the licensee. But what I'm trying to say is that what would make our case even stronger would be if you have evidence that you could submit, that you could email us, or, you could, give us, that would allow us to present that at the hearing. But as the judge at the oath office, at the Office of Administrative Trials and Hearings, they do have tremendous power in determining who is more credible.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm so sorry that you had that experience. I'm so sorry.
I'm sorry too, but thank you.
I see
My pleasure.
Alana's hands are up, and I also see Ms. Grandison. So Alana, go ahead and ask your question, and then Ms. Grandison, you'll be next after Alana.
Hi, everyone. Thank you. Great presentation. I just had a quick question regarding the commuter vehicles that you mentioned in terms of the ones that were illegal. Were you referencing dollar vans by any chance? And if so, I was just curious to know how many of them are actually licensed. Yeah.
Sure, yes. So yeah, commuter vans, they're known as dollar vans. Those are what I'm talking about. And we do have a list on our website. So of the dollar van, or the commuter van authorities, which are the businesses that dispatch the vans. So only those ones that are attached to those authorities are licensed vehicles. So
Okay. Can you put your website information in the chat box? I switched devices, so I don't have it if you had previously put it in the chat box.
Got it. Yeah, so I'll in the chat, I'll put the exact page where it says, and you can download the Excel list, and you could see the address of the base and their number and all that stuff.
Okay, sounds good. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Ms. Grandison.
Yes, hi, good night. Gail Grandison, Chair Youth and Education. I just wanted to know if the TLC has a database that the public can access that has a record of drivers who refuse to pick up passengers.
Let's see. I don't think there's a specific database of service refusals. Louis, do you know if any of the summonses get reported to open data?
As far as I know, we don't have open data that would show the drivers, the names of the drivers who who has engaged in service refusals. Was that the question? Is there? I'm sorry. What? Can you repeat that?
No, I said or just the medallion number, since you say they don't have the drivers, which I understand might be, too much to put out there, or maybe just the medallion numbers.
I don't believe we do. No, I don't. Yeah, I don't believe we have that. We don't have that that data. I'm sure that we have data of drivers. So for drivers who continuously engage in service refusals, but that would not be information that's open to the public, or we would list that in some kind of an open data forum?
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, so I would check open data, NYC open data. I can drop that in the chat as well. I just put the where you can find the commuter van licensees. I'll drop the open data. You can take a look to see what data sets we put out. But the other method you could try if you want to find that information would be a FOIL request. So the FOIL information is in the presentation, which I sent to the board earlier. So you can always email me too if you need a copy. But you can submit a FOIL request asking for that information, and our legal unit will see what information can be turned over.
Thank you. Thank you.
And is there one more hand up?
I-
Arlana?
I think Alana just left her hand up.
Okay.
So
Yeah, no, sorry, I didn't have another question. I didn't realize I had to lower it. Sorry.
okay, so we want to thank Mr. Liang and Mr. Cepeda from the TLC for bringing this information to us. You know, we're happy that they chose to bring this, and this will give us a heads up as to protecting ourselves. In particular, many of us, as a largely Caribbean community, ride on the dollar vans. Now you have to look for the one with the commuter sticker on the side. Okay, so that was directly from the slide deck. I'm sure that it will be able to be shared and provided upon request. You could get to the CV17 district manager or the CV17 office, and you could request that information. Or you could actually email me also. I'll type my email in the chat and I will get it to you. So continuing with our agenda, again, thanks to the TLC and their leadership for spending some time with us this evening. We greatly appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
So continuing with our agenda, is there a member of Busta Rhymes charity here? For the folks who are part of this, they should have received a biography of Busta Rhymes as well as Spliff Star. If you did not receive it,
I'm here.
it can be provided.
I'm
Hi,
here.
Dr. Mida.
How you doing? Yes, this is Dr. Mida.
Okay, very well. So Dr. Mida will, this in particular, let me bring it out to the public, is a co-renaming of Troy Avenue between Linden and Church Avenue. In particular, the description, according to the request for the co-naming, is that on the north side, which is Linden and Troy Avenue, the co-naming will be for Busta Rhymes, Trevor Smith, and then at the bottom of Troy Avenue, which is Church Avenue, that intersection there, the co-naming will be for Mr. Spliff Star.
No, the opposite, actually.
Okay, so I think I looked at the, let me see.
Hello?
Okay.
Yes.
Hello?
Yes. All right. Go ahead, Dr. Mida.
Hi, how you doing? Yes, I'm here today trying to get a co-naming for the street. As many people know, Busta Rhymes, he's been in the game for about 32 years, him and Spliff Star, and he has graced us with many songs and many videos, and he continues to tell everyone how much he loves Brooklyn and how much he represents Flatbush Avenue. Um, and I myself have done many things with him in the music industry as well as for the community over the years. We continue to talk to the young kids to do, stop the violence events. We've given out 400 turkeys in Flatbush Gardens. We've given out turkeys, toys, food. We gave meals to PS 109, serving the seniors. He does a lot. He doesn't a lot of times want his name through what we do. Him and Spliff Star, they represent back to the block, they back to the community. And one thing that I do like is that these younger artists and these younger rappers that are coming out that are beefing, what I love about them is that I see them getting them together and stopping a lot of the rivalry and the beefs and really trying to talk to them and be a mentor to them. And so I thought it was only right. He was named, given a Lifetime Achievement Award this year by BET, by MTV. He was named as one of the most prolific rappers. He's on the cover of Ebony magazine for what he's contributed to the music industry. It just came out last week for the 50 years of hip hop. And it only makes sense. This year is the 50th anniversary of hip hop. And I thought, how better to crown someone than our own in New York City, Busta Rhymes and Spliff Star, who has stood by his side.
All right. If Dr. Mida is finished, does anyone have any questions, any remarks, any comments? If not, Miss Lyons, the roll call based on the two committees now that it's merged. We may have to revisit those numbers that were originally given based on the participation, etc. But where are we currently, Miss Lyons? If you can look at
Sorry, you do not have a quorum as of yet.
Do not have a quorum as of yet. Okay. Yes. The number that is needed for quorum would be
41.
41. So quorum will be what, 23?
20 plus 1, 21.
20 plus 1. Okay. All right. So Dr. Mida?
Yes.
Because we do not have a quorum, we cannot vote in particular to bring this to the general board meeting. What we would do is that we have the information here and we will have to try back next month. I am going to try vigorously to get as many of the members who are here so that we could vote on this item. And hopefully
Mr. Lewis, could you hear me? Chair Lewis?
Yes, who is that?
This is Miss Frazier.
Miss Frazier.
Hi, how are you? I actually signed in from the phone because I am also in a DCP meeting, but yes. I'm in 2 meetings right now, so please forgive me.
No problem.
I actually wanted to chime in because usually when there is no quorum, the committee moves send the item to the board. to make a decision. I don't think that has changed. You could probably check in with the chair, but I know
Okay.
usually it goes straight to the board when there is no quorum. The committee moves to refer the item to the full board.
All right.
I just
So
wanted
then,
to jump in there a little while I'm still in another meeting.
okay, very well. So since that has been brought to my attention, then Dr. Mida, what we
Yes.
will do is we will bring it up in the executive board meeting
Okay.
and make sure that it's pushed on the agenda for October. And we would like you to maybe do this presentation again at the general board meeting, so that everyone at the general board meeting could get the same information and be able to effectively vote and decide.
Okay.
All right. So the general board meeting is always the third Wednesday in October. So if you prepare for that meeting, and we will get all the information out to the executive board as well as the board members, and we will effectively push the vote to the general board.
Okay.
All right. Thanks again, Ms. DM Fraser.
You're welcome, sir. You're welcome.
All right. So now we are on our sixth item, which is old business. I touched upon that before, but I would like if there are any other board members or committee members who would like to express anything based on the Department of Transportation, the car share, the ZIP, in particular from that meeting, if they would like additional information. It's open now for that. If not, we could go into new business. So okay, so new business. Last night, okay. See, Dr. Odelia Lewis has raised her hand, so I'm acknowledging her.
Hi, good night. I don't know if this falls under anything that's been covered before, if this is going to be new business, but I had a concern about traffic on Linden Boulevard, in particular, one, the school buses, and two, people using that middle lane that's supposed to be for emergency vehicles. So I'm not sure if this is the time to address that.
Yeah, we could address that now, because we could bring it into new business, since I don't see anyone that has any old business. We could put this as new business, yes.
Okay. So my two concerns, one is that, as we all know, Linden Boulevard, particularly in the morning, is a very busy road. And what's seeming to happen more increasingly is that these yellow school buses are driving diagonal to the road to block the traffic, I suppose, for the children to get on the bus. Which does create a bit of havoc at times. I understand that, they have their stop signs and everyone's supposed to stop on both sides of the street once that sign is out. But my question is there any proposals in terms of having specific areas where the bus would stop to pick up the students, as opposed to just any and every corner? Because that's typically how it's done in Long Island and outside of New York. So I'm not sure if that's part of a proposal here. And then secondly, that middle lane was not really a lane, it's really a emergency vehicles are supposed to use that. you have lots of individuals who are not emergency vehicles who feel that they are entitled to just drive up there and cut into traffic. And there have been a number of very near misses in terms of accidents. So I was wondering in terms of, I know sometimes NYPD sits on Church Avenue to look at traffic and to, I guess, monitor and survey for crime and things of that nature. If they're planning to put individuals on Linden Boulevard to prevent that from happening before there is a catastrophic accident.
Detective Skinner, the second question. Is it possible to give an answer on that?
Good evening, everyone. Detective Skinner from the Community Affairs Office from 6-7 Precinct. Just to address both issues, I know what the reason why the school buses do that is because the problem is a lot of times when these school buses what do you call it, when they stop to pick up kids and they put the stop sign out for both sides, a lot of times the opposite traffic from the opposite direction doesn't obey, or sometimes cars would overtake and try to go around. So the reason why they do that is to stop traffic on both sides. I know sometimes it is a little reckless as well, as it seems, but that's the reason for that. As far as for the zebra stripes, our traffic team have been doing enforcement over there because we have been seeing a higher increase of people using the zebra stripe to basically avoid traffic on Linden Boulevard. So our traffic team have been doing enforcement actually for the past month or two, which is called like disobey pavement markings. So they have been doing enforcement on that. I'll speak to them again so we could probably, step up a little bit more, but they have been addressing that issue.
Right. So, thank you, Detective Skinner. So what I will do is also find out, like was stated before, if there is a safer place for the children to meet in maybe one main area, maybe off on a side street instead of the major thoroughway, which is Linden Boulevard. That might be something that I will pursue, maybe reaching out to the different bus companies, or finding out who they are and who is actually doing that, and we could make some type of request or get to some type of understanding with those companies to maybe make it a little more, because at the same time, yes, they're picking up kids, but this is a major tollway in terms of going east to west. And, it should not be in a place where every block or every other block is being impeded because they decide to pick up one or two children. So we will look at that also and try to reach out to those bus companies and try to come to a amicable agreement in terms of that. Miss McCain-Brown?
Chair Lewis, in regards to what Dr. Lewis said, I know that it can be done. And as you said, you reach out to the companies, because when my daughter was going to one of the prep schools, the kids that were being picked up in areas, the bus stopped at a particular location and all the kids met at that location. So yes, it's reckless and we understand why, but I think something ought to be done because it is a hazard. So it would be good, I think, if you check in to find out if it could be done with the others, because it was done at my daughter's school where we had to drop off at a particular location right in this area where every kid will join the bus at that point.
Thank you. All right, continuing with new business. Last night, there was a meeting done by Brooklyn Level Up, which is Miss Alison Martinez. She's on. I will give her a chance to speak about it, and then we could ask a couple of questions. Ms. Alison Martinez.
Good evening, everyone. Last night we had an initial just meeting for people who either had attended a community walkthrough that we had with Assembly Member Monique Chandler Waterman about the Interborough Express project that is in the beginning of its environmental review phase that will actually connect the Brooklyn Army Terminal to Roosevelt Avenue in Queens, connecting Brooklyn and Queens via light rail. We just had a preliminary meeting with people who had attended either that session or were interested in figuring out how we could organize as a community about the things we'd like to see going forward if that project is going to take shape as it seems to be on track to do, no pun intended. But we definitely want to encourage, that's just the beginning phase, and we really want to encourage more people to come out, become educated about this project, and to start to advocate for our community about how we can build assets for the things that we want, especially as they may be basically there could be eminent domain use or there are opportunities to build stations, but what else can they do that would serve some of the needs in the community that currently exist or may exist in the future? So it's just the beginning of a phase. If you're interested, we hope that you will join in to these conversations.
All right. Thank you, Alison.
You're welcome.
Are there any questions on this on what was stated in terms of this new light rail? If not, one of the key things is that our folks have to be on the forefront of demanding what we want. Again, that is something I'm going to reiterate. We should not be reactive, we should be proactive. And that is what Alison Martinez and Brooklyn Level Up is doing, being proactive. So, some people might say, oh, why so much meetings? Why so many things? Because a lot of the time, the people who are doing meetings to get this project to this point were doing it years and years before. And we are now hearing about it. And I'll be honest with you, as the transportation chair, it was last month when Alison Martinez brought it up that I even knew about the Interborough Express. Okay? But when I found out and what I was told is that this has been planning, I believe, since maybe at the end of Bloomberg into de Blasio's administration. They were talking about this. And what was brought to our attention too is that many of the politicians maybe signed on to this years ago or whenever they did, but it wasn't brought to us. So we have to thank again Alison Martinez and Brooklyn Level Up for bringing our awareness about this. So now the area in particular, there's about 3 stations. One will be at Remsen, one will be at Utica, and like Farragut over there, close to the plastics factory in that area. And the next one, I believe, would be at Flatbush Junction. And it's going to connect the 2 train. It's going to connect, so again, we just need to be on the forefront of this. There is already an environmental study that is starting. I think the company is WSP, I believe. They're already starting that environmental study. Once that has started, no, that is not if it's going to happen, but when it's going to happen. So we need to be in the forefront to ask for what we want, and we mightn't get all that we want, but we need to ask to get some of what we want. All right. So again, wow, it's 8:49. If anyone has anything else they would like to add, I would like you to speak up now. If not, then I will ask for someone to call the meeting to I call the meeting to adjournment and ask someone to give a vote on that, please. No one wants to adjourn the meeting?
Second. We can adjourn. I have a question for you though once the meeting's officially over.
Okay. So who first? I heard second, but I don't know who second.
Boris Sanders.
Okay, so Mr. Boris Sanders called the meeting to an end, and it was seconded. All right, so officially the first meeting of Transportation and Public Safety has come to an end. Right on time, 9 minutes to spare. So I appreciate everyone, and we're looking forward to next month's meeting. I believe tomorrow is Chair James rezoning committee meeting, and that has a lot to deal with also the IBX too. I have learned that the folks in Borough Park are actually upzoning to put, I think, 200 or 300 unit 14 building or something to that effect compound that is going to be close to that IBX. So if you want to learn more about what's going on in rezoning in our community, please join that meeting tomorrow at 7:30.
Good night. Before the meeting ends, I just wanted to know that Ms. Bellin is present at the meeting. I was not on time when you had your roll call.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right. All right. So Ms. Alana, you want to discuss
I just
over
had
this, or you want to discuss?
no. It's just a quick question. I was just trying to figure out exactly